Today we're going to introduce you to the Easy E extension edger from American Sanders. Now some of you folks that have been around for a while, you're going to look at these and you're going to say that looks a lot like the old Super E, and you'd be correct. Very similar to the old Super E, but with some significant visual and internal design changes to make this machine much better than it used to be. Visually speaking, well, it's pretty obvious. These things are now black with red highlights, which looks a lot cooler than the old hammer tone gray. A couple other things though to point out to you real quick. They now come with LED lights with reflectors to throw that light out towards the end of the edger so that as you're working under toe kicks or radiators, you've got a better chance of seeing what you're working on.
We've also moved to a dual caster setup so that we can prevent caster buck and gives you a wider, more stable base while you're edging. And we've gone to tool-free caster adjustment. You can release this nut and then you can use this mechanism to adjust the height of the caster up and down and then lock it back in place.
Both of these machines, we also have moved to now hook and loop paper attachment devices as opposed to the old bolt-on paper that you used to have to use. Those are the obvious visual differences. More significant changes that we've made are the internal design changes we've made around the belt and the pulley areas. So the new design is a single piece pulley as opposed to the old design was a solid pulley and drive plate all together. So if you ended up dropping the old machine and bending your drive plate, you had to replace this entire part. Also, the only sandpaper that you could use with the old style was the bolt-on paper. Now that we've gone to the hook and loop style, you can use both bolt-on and hook and loop with the new pad. So this is, instead of a single piece, you now have two pieces, and this piece is the drive plate. It actually just bolts right up onto the pulley. And then you can operate your machine that way, and it is the same piece that we use for this CE7 edger. So we've redesigned the pinion, and the pinion is where the belt actually rides on the motor shaft. So this machine can be used with either an 8-inch extension or the 13-inch extension. In the 8-inch extension, the belt obviously rides on the upper end of the pinion. If you had the 13-inch on here, you would have to then ride it on the lower part of the pinion. The old design, there was really no real good dividing area here to tell the difference as to where the belt would line up regardless of which extension you were using. So very often you would misalign the belts. On this new pinion, there's a very distinctive barrier between upper and lower. And so now when that is mounted in place, it's very clear where you should align your belt depending on the extension you're using. And that way you get a very lined up or true belt. So the old belt on the old Super E is very similar to a timing belt that you would see in your car. It comes with a single groove. Really ideal for high torque applications and not necessarily high speed applications. And unfortunately this belt would tend to break and jump off the pulleys. What we've moved to now in the Easy E version is a Pulley V belt. And so this Pulley V belt actually is more forgiving. So as you install this and get it aligned, this is going to stay in alignment and it's going to hold up longer in that high-speed application than that older belt. So if you want to replace the pads, if you want to turn this into a 13-inch extension, you just have to pop off these 4 nuts. All right, that'll slide back. I can then pull that entire part off. The other difference in the Easy E versus the Super E are these surfaces now. The mating surfaces are machined flat. So before they were not machined flat and there were some irregularities when the two pieces would mate together. So both of these are machined flat. So now when you put them together, you're more certain to get proper belt alignment, which is what you're really going for. And then also without the irregularities, as you torque this down and screw this back into place, you've got no chance of actually cracking the casting, which would happen with the old machine. So when you want to install this then, or you put on the other extension, you simply line up the bolts. So now this belt, because it's the 8-inch extension, needs to go on the upper end of that pinion. And then I'm just going to slide it forward to get tension on the belt, get the belts out of the way of the actual studs, get that tension on the belts, and then I can just bolt it back in place. And And then the last design improvement we've made is that we've included this carrying bag. You can fit your machine in there. You can fit any other supplies like your bag or paper, anything that you need in order to get this unit taken care of and get you to the next job site. If there's any other questions that you have for this unit or anything else we manufacture at American Sanders, please feel free to contact us at americansanders.com.